Now, welcome to another Visions Volume 2 review. This time it's the episode Screecher's Reach.
This one's coming from Cartoon Saloon, the Ireland studio.
Could definitely hear it in the voices.
Definitely could. I like that, actually.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because somebody reminded me of this in the comments that the first volume I tried to fit everything into canon, and this one I think fits into canon just fine, too.
This one easily slides right into canon.
Yeah.
In fact, if you wanted to continue this story somewhere, I'd be fine with that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a Sith finding an apprentice, it's a classic story.
The way it happened totally caught me off guard, not expecting it.
Well, it's so crazy because at the beginning you see this harsh life that Dal, Bathan, and the other two kids all live with. That this is just like a labor camp and the farms and
yeah, they don't go into too much details.
They work for industry, and you can tell it's a hard life.
Yeah, it seemed maybe slavery-ish.
But you also see that the kids are like making the best of it. They have this beautiful watercolor painting surroundings. They have this fun, adventurous music as they're stealing those spears and just driving across the fields and having a great time. They're laughing at the campfire. Everything seems fine aside from the fact that they don't like that they work. They have a hard work life. This is, fact.
Yeah.
But then there's the Screecher's Reach story. That there's a haunted ghost cave, and it sounds like a fun adventure for a group of kids, and that is the entire direction that they give us. Well, right up through.
Yeah, we hear her talking about it's all in the mind. And I think we right away imagine this is the story of someone going to become a Jedi.
Well, they set us up that way with, first off, Dal's constantly playing with this amulet. We make assumptions of what it could be without knowing what it is. Like, oh, maybe it's a family heirloom, or...
Yeah, they don't really go into that.
No, it just
I have a
looks
theory about that, which I'll...
Ooh, well, we'll get to that, I'm sure. And then she talks about how she doesn't like the life that they live. And her friend Bathan tells her if she ever has a chance at a better life, that she should take it and not look back.
If a Jedi ever shows up to, offer you an apprenticeship or something like that, this is just what we were expecting, I think.
And then this is where our music and our tone entirely shifts. We go from this happy story, these kids going on an adventure, you could say, to here we are at the cave and haunting music starts and everything gets much darker, and the kids venture to the cave in the dark, and they start getting scared because they're kids, and it's so far it's still setting up like a regular traditional ghost story.
Well, a ghost story, but I'm also getting the impression, I'm also going back to Luke going into the cave, it's all in his mind. We even hear her say it's all, it's a test of the mind and stuff, so I'm right away assuming, okay, she's going to have some scary vision, she's going to figure out it's not real, somehow a Jedi shows up, I feel this is a pretty classic, straightforward, simple story at this point.
Well, and even what she was saying, I follow your path with strength and courage.
The strength
sounds
was a
very
little
uplifting.
Well, the strength part is, the courage is fine. What's weird about that is like the strength part, when you really think about it, you're like, well, Jedi are, it's not that they don't believe in strength, don't get me wrong, but that's not like a mantra you would hear out of a Jedi when you really think about it. The courage part, sure, but the strength part, like Jedi don't really crave strength. Like inner strength perhaps, but as we'll see, she,
when she says
offered a
it's
different
all
kind of
in my
strength.
mind and I want strength and courage, you kind of just all go, oh, well, this sounds like a good test. This is something I loved the aesthetic of, the ghost. The scary monster in the cave. When you look at the kiddie kind of style they use with the very, straightforward art, and it doesn't look overly complex, even though they have these beautiful watercolors behind it, here comes the ghost, and it looks straight out of, if you asked a 5-year-old to draw something scary, or a 3-year-old, it's all black, jagged lines, sharp teeth, glowing eyes.
Scribbled and frantic is how I would describe it.
It's literally what a child would draw as a ghost, and this is a bunch of kids and a ghost adventure, and I'm like, ooh, that looked good.
Yeah, that's what I'm figuring. Okay, it really is all in their heads somehow. This is that test.
It's a dark manifestation of the fear and the life that she's living, is what I kept thinking. That she was going to overcome it and come out the other side, and maybe her and the kids will go off. It'll be, an adventure for them. But then we find out, of course, that the ghost is a Sith.
Well, it's a Sith, yeah. I mean, the lightsaber like hits her, and you're like, wait a second.
That's when she snapped out of it, too, and actually became truly afraid.
Yeah.
It's not in your mind anymore.
Got to use that fear if you're a Sith.
Mm-hmm. And then she force pulls a rock.
Crushes the old... Yeah. Now, I'm assuming that's perhaps... See, this is kind of where my theory starts kicking in. Is that like the old master of this Sith that shows up? Or is it like an old apprentice that she kind of uses now as a test?
Well, what's interesting is the rock didn't kill her.
No.
It just pinned her.
No, that's the best part of the episode.
When we know what the child then does.
Yeah, you figure the rock falls down. That's it. We're not going to like see anything beyond that. We just get to assume the Sith has been crushed and killed. But no.
No. The child actually ignites the lightsaber, and
Kills
you
her.
see a brief look of fear in the old Sith's eyes as she is struck down by her replacement, I guess.
Yeah.
The moment that she like kills the ghost and she's coming out of the cave, the music kicks back into high gear, getting really dark and haunting and eerie, and you're like, everything that you thought you had at the beginning of this just
wrong.
180s, and you're like, this is really dark. When you remember at the beginning, the kids laughing, riding on the speeders, banging their heads into a thing, eating fruit.
Well, as soon as her medallion kind of glows red, we're like, oh my god.
Uh-huh.
She's been led here by a Sith as a test.
What's interesting, and somebody in our Discord actually said this, the Sith, in a way, looks like an angel.
She does.
Aside from the yellow, glowing Sith eyes.
Yeah, I actually kind of like the design.
It is. It's interesting because to this child, she does look like an angel.
Yeah, the child has no idea.
Being liberated from what she thinks is this horrible, horrible life and doesn't realize that she's signing up for something much darker.
See, I wonder, again, with my theory, if these she drops these medallions maybe into the camp. So, like, somebody Force sensitive maybe finds them and eventually gets lured to the test, and then if they pass the test, they get to come along.
Mm-hmm.
What if this is kind of like
kills them? Remember, there were bones in that Sith layer, so
exactly.
She's killed before.
That's what I'm saying. I think that medallion has been used before. I think this is all some kind of test of either. Like I said, I think this is the angel-looking one has probably been the master Sith for a while, and this is how she disposes of apprentices that maybe become a little too powerful. Puts them in this cave and looks for the one who can kill it and take their place.
It was strange how emotionally moving this one became.
Yeah, because, again, you feel like very like fun and lighthearted, like you keep saying. You're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be just a kind of a straightforward kids going off and, go off and be a Jedi or something. That's what I thought that scene was setting up, where she's like, if you ever get the chance, don't look back. You're like, oh, God, she's going to, tearful goodbye as she goes off with the good old Jedi. But no. Oh, no.
No, and then you have that moment at the very end when you remember when she even says to him, you said,
I like his look,
take it. He says... You said, don't look back. And then what does she do at the very last second of that port closing? She looks back. She looks back. Well, tears in her eyes. Is she regretting the choice that she's made? Or is this just one final farewell? Well,
I mean, it's awesome because those are her friends. And, I mean, this does tie into kind of the classic Star Wars attachment thing and how Jedi can have friends and they can have important things. But here she is giving up the things that, like, should be important to her friends and her family to go off to, and she doesn't really understand.
She's seeking freedom.
She's seeking more
power
freedom
and strength.
Yeah, but you can see her ambition early on, what she's talking about. Ever just want to go and keep going. I mean, now granted, yes, you're living a life of a slave, so no one can blame you for wanting to escape. But there is that little hint of ambition there. The same thing where we see with Anakin. I want to be the first one to see all the stars. Well, okay, he's a slave kid. He's got some big dreams. Of course he does. But it's also a hint of something more that could be behind
exploited?
That. Exploited and behind that kind of that calm, innocent exterior.
Like I said, at the beginning, I didn't think I was going to like this one as much. I'm like, I'm just going to kid adventure. But by the end of it, it became so powerful. I think I liked it more than the first one.
I think it's the best story of all of them. I don't know that it's the best episode, which kind of sounds maybe contradictory. I mean, I don't know if that I enjoyed it overall the most, I guess I'm saying. But I thought it was definitely the most surprising.
This is one of the few that the music really stepped up.
I agree with that.
Like, the music for this one really gives you the tone and just hammers into you the emotions and how they wanted you to feel.
Yeah, they can manipulate. That's what music's there for. It's meant to manipulate your emotions one way or another.
Right, but they used it to its fullest extent here. Like I said, they had a very out of all of the ones that we saw, they had a much more simplistic art form than a lot. Yeah. They had some watercolor painting, but it was 2D animation for the most part. I'm not saying it's easy, but it was more simplistic looking as compared to the other ones. But the music stepped the entire thing up the notch, as well as with the deep meanings and themes in the story.
Yeah, I did like the backgrounds, as you pointed out. I think that looked... But yeah, other than that, the actual animation, I guess you could say, it was kind of very simplistic and straightforward. And yet, it works. Like, when she does look back, or when, the boy is... She's asking him, you said don't look back, right? And it works so well. He kind of nods his head, and you're kind of like, wow, he's kind of like, I did say that, but I'm not sure this is the... You can see all regret, of that. Yeah. So You know, sometimes
part of it's the music, yeah.
Part of it's the music, but part of it sometimes even the simplest little, move of a pen, if you will, can convey so much. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, very, very good episode.
Absolutely. Definitely one that I would not overlook as a top episode. This one had so much deep emotion and strain that you could just feel in your chest that it was really good.
No, really good. Just that, like I said, I don't think it's my favorite. I don't know that it's the best overall, but it's the best kind of thematic story. Let's put it that way. Just because you were so caught off guard, you expected one thing, you got something else entirely, and at the end, you're like, "This isn't a happy story. This isn't what I expected at all."
And it's sad watching it the second time through, knowing how the story goes. You can see all those tiny hints, and you're like,
"Yep."
You can feel it coming, and you still want her to make a different choice.
Yep, exactly. All right, well, that is going to be all we got for you this time. So now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell us what you thought of Screecher's Reach. Did you see the twist coming? Were you caught completely off guard? And did you enjoy the episode? Whatever the case may be, leave those comments below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.